We have two speakers for this session, Mr. Yuvraj Natarajan and Mr. Jayant Balaji. They are going to give us hands-on training on the topic Artificial Intelligence for 5G wireless communications. Firstly, I am pleased to introduce Mr. Yuvraj Natarajan. Yuvraj works as a senior application engineer in MathWorks, focusing on the 5G, LTE, wireless LAN, wireless and satellite communications. Prior to MathWorks, he has worked with Cisco Systems, where he worked on self-optimizing networks for the 5G LTE market and developed expertise on end-to-end LTE networks, working closely with mobile operators across the globe. He has industry expertise on LTE ENB protocol stack development, LTE physical development. He has also worked at Center for Communication Systems Research, United Kingdom on cognitive radios, relay systems, LTE-A, COMP systems. Yuvraj holds a master degree in mobile and satellite communications from University of Zurich, United Kingdom, and BE in electronics and communications from Anna University. The second guest speaker, Mr. Jayant Balaji, also comes from MathWorks. He works as an application engineer in the area of language and technical computing. He primarily focuses on the areas of data analytics for the applications involving with time series data. Jayant has around 6 years of research and industrial experience where he was working developing AI, ML, DL solutions for various application areas such as retail optimization, computer vision, and natural language processing. Prior to joining MathWorks, Jayant was working as a senior AI engineer at Impact Analytics, Bangalore. Jayant holds bachelor degree in electronics and communication engineering, master's degree in very large scale integration design, and currently he is pursuing his doctoral research with the thesis title Investigations into Faster Training of Deep Learning Algorithms for Modeling Time Series. Welcome you both, sir, for the session. I request you to take over.
Thank you so much, Madam Joshna, for a kind introduction, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining this afternoon. And hope everybody is doing safe during the pandemic. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay, so my presentation is visible, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hold on. Okay, so I hope I think this is some. Are we ending today, or do we have some more sessions tomorrow? Any thoughts on this, Joshna, madam? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, how is the sessions going? Are we ending today, or do we still
have
some
2 more days to go, sir.
Okay. So we are in the middle of the talk. So
Yes,
I think you are enjoying this series of sessions. So good to see a lot of participants here, and I hope you would have enjoyed a talk from MathWorks yesterday by Kishore. So I think that would have also given you some insight about various MathWorks solutions and an introduction about 5G, RF, and how you can simulate all things together, right? So today, as a continuation to that, we just thought of giving you an overview of using artificial intelligence to solve any wireless communication problem. So basically, artificial intelligence is taking a key role in many places in the current technological development, and communication industry is again not an exception for that. So you'll see a lot of research going on in the area of artificial intelligence for solving wireless communication problem. So I'm Yuvraj Natarajan, and I'm from the application engineering team in MathWorks India. Focusing on the wireless communication related products like the 5G, LTE, WLAN, and the wireless communication system. So I work closely with customers in various industries who is basically working on the 5G and various wireless communication systems. So maybe along with me, I have Jayant Balaji, who is again my colleague. So Jayant, do you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, Yuvraj. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is staying safe. Welcome to the session. And myself, I'm Jayant. I work as an application engineer focusing on AI for the engineering systems, which also includes wireless and other time series kind of forecasting applications. So that's like a quick intro about me. Today, myself and Yuvraj will enact introduction like how wireless expert and AI expert go together hand in hand with solving a challenging problems, and we'll be happy to hear from your questions as well.
Great. Thanks, Jayant. So if you see here, no, it'll be very clear, like we are two different engineers from two different areas of expertise, but how we have put together to solve a problem, wireless problem, they're basically a 5G related problem, into using a artificial intelligence technique in MATLAB is something which we are going to see today. So this is going to be a very interactive session between me and Jayant, where we will take you along us for explaining you about various features and technologies, and how you can do that easily in MATLAB, and how you can produce a meaningful result in a simulation environment. So this is something which you're going to hear, and maybe before we kickstart, I would like to say that let's have this session more interactive. So please feel free to stop us for any questions. Do you have access to unmute yourself and speak out, attendees? If not, I don't see that option, but if not, then I would recommend you to raise the hands and or put some thing in the chat so that we stop and we answer your question. So feel free to stop us anytime, and we'll be happy to answer your question. So I would like to have this session interactive so that you understand the concept, so that you do have some takeaway from here. And also I would also like to inform that you'll get a copy of this slide deck at the end of this talk, so you do not take any notes of that sense. You'll have a copy of this slide deck and recording to you, so you can sit back and relax and enjoy the talk. Maybe before we start, I think let's see if everyone agrees to that. Maybe if you can find your raise hand, or if you can give some reactions, right? We'll be happy to see, so everyone is able to use the control so that you can stop us in the middle. Participants, we would request you to raise your hands or give some reactions so that. Audio, yeah, I understand the audio is muted, but do you have the option to? Yeah, I got. I think yeah, Lavanya has raised the hand. I think then the raise hand feature is working. So can everyone try to raise your hands, whoever is available? Thank you so much, Lavanya. So maybe everyone, you found how to raise your hands. So you'll be, yes. Please try it out. Yeah, let's see how many people are there active. Okay. Okay, I think many people are able to do that. Thank you so much. You can lower the hand, and maybe you can use the same feature to question us in the middle of the talk. Okay, let's quickly jump on to the talk now. So the outline for today's talk is we will discuss something on the various challenges which you will face. Yeah, I see the mic is enabled. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Santosh, for enabling the mic. I think everyone now has option to unmute yourself and speak. Yeah, thank you so much. So as an outline, you will see today, like we'll understand various challenges and in designing and implementing a wireless system. So the basic challenge to a most complicated challenge, and we'll also understand the end-to-end artificial intelligence workflow. So you'll need to understand the wireless system, and you will need to understand the artificial intelligence workflow, like what are the various features available in the artificial intelligence technique, and later on we will see how to solve the wireless problem using an artificial intelligence approach. So at the end of this talk, you will be able to understand how MathWorks acts as a crossroads for solving your wireless problem using artificial intelligence technique. In developing any wireless communication system, right, there are various factors and various components involved, starting from your test waveforms, which is the basic thing if you're working on a physical layer system. And if you're working on a higher layer system, you will have bits as input, which would be your basic thing, and which would be basically from an application. So building a wireless waveform itself is a complicated task where you need a standard wireless waveform. It can be a 5G waveform, it can be a WLAN waveform, or the signal, with a basic waveform, which is basically an IQ sample on top of it. So once you have the waveform, you need to develop the baseband unit of the software, which acts as various components and various building blocks going into that to build the baseband system, which is basically the software development part of the protocol stack. And there are various algorithms also involved. So the algorithms has to be clever enough to make the system more susceptible to various imperfections which happens. And also the next part after your baseband is the digital front end, where you will have your RF components, and where you will have your components like DAC, which converts your signal from digital to analog domain, and then you will have various filters, mixers, amplifiers, and then the power amplifier. So all those aspects comes into picture when you have the RF in your domain. And then finally the output of the RF goes to the antenna part, where you'll have to design your multi antenna array system. And that again acts as again an important role, because designing a good antenna plays a very important role in success of your system. So it can be a multi antenna system, a phased array antenna system, so various types of antennas depending on the applications. And finally the channel model, where the signal is transmitted into the channel. And then the complete receiver chain again plays a very important role, where you will be able to receive the signal in the antenna, do the complete receiver operation of the RF and the baseband, convert the signal into digital, do the baseband processing, and then take out the bits out of it. So I would say it's like from the bit to bit, there are various engineers who come into picture, various expertise which you need to develop and build the system together. And the MATLAB and MathWorks tools acts as a unified platform for you to build the complete system and inside a single framework. And coming to the artificial intelligence, so there are various research topics in the area of artificial intelligence, and that is of interest. And depending on your working area, you'll be able to think of a problem statement, and you'll be able to solve that using artificial intelligence technique. So we today in the talk have taken one problem statement where we solve that problem using artificial intelligence technique, and that is just eye opener or a trigger for you. You'll be able to solve various other problems using artificial intelligence technique. For example, I have some examples or some use cases which you can think of, like signal classification, classifying the signal, what kind of modulation is applied to the signal, or even device identification. So if you are working on a Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi based system, so identifying your device can also be done using artificial intelligence. If you are working on the RF, right, your digital pre-distortion, which acts as a very important factor for cancelling your modulation or cancelling your non-linearities which happens due to power amplifier. So that can also be designed using artificial intelligence. Various receiver algorithms. So receiver algorithm is actually a proprietary algorithm which you'll be building, right? So there are various complications in the receiver algorithms where you can apply artificial intelligence technique. Channel model, again, to identify the channel, like what kind of channels. Channel is nothing but the real world effect which gets added to your signal. So the more complex the channel model you have, the more accurate your design of, because since you're working on a simulation environment, the channel model plays a very vital role in building up the system. And again, the encoders and decoders, the coding part of it, the channel coding, the state machines and the source coding can also be implemented. And another important topic is beamforming, where you have in a multi-antenna, multi-array system. Beamforming again plays a very important role, and wireless network, optimization again plays a very important role. So this is when we thought that the time for AI might be coming, because the services which are expected from the system currently are exceeding the capability of the traditional approach. So we have a traditional approach to solve every problem, and the expectation from that is increasing day by day, and you need to find a new way to solve the problem. So the traditional way of solving it, it's quite difficult to scale up things. So it's good to find a new way to solve the problem, and AI shows promising result in other domains as well. So maybe for wireless, AI might be new, but there are various other domains where AI shows very promising result. And because of the increase in the complexity of the system exponentially, we need to think of another way, or solving a problem using artificial intelligence. So there are various ways in which AI can contribute here. For example, for network simplification, or the improved performance of the system, or even spectral efficiency, increasing the spectral efficiency of the system, and so on. Jayant, maybe can you give us an introduction of various artificial intelligence technique and an overview about that?
Sure, Yuvraj. And thanks, Yuvraj, for the brief introduction about the wireless workflows. And I believe majority of the participants today is focusing on wireless domains. I thought of giving them a quick overview about what is AI and how it can be, what are the categories of AI techniques that is commonly used, and how they can able to use it. So AI is not actually a new technique, as Yuvraj was mentioning. It was applied in several other industries, in late in the late of 1950s and so on and so forth. So it's an ability to mimic the human intelligence on any system. So it's a kind of an intelligent workflow where it enables the hardware or an IC or an embedded system to mimic the human intelligence. So it giving a sense to that it's nothing but an artificial intelligence, and it started in in the way 1950s when they tried to mimic or model an gate level in form of a data from the gates. So it's a very old techniques, but due to the recent advancements, right, it started to grow multiple levels, and by which it can able to cater down to the most complex problems, which cannot be solved directly with the human inference and things like that. So that's where AI was introduced, and AI has many sub classifications. So when it comes to AI, there is a technique which solves AI is nothing but a machine learning. So which is nothing but a statistical based workflow, and it enables the machines to learn from the task. So for example, there are various techniques by which machine learning or artificial intelligence can be done. So the general idea is that without explicitly being programming the relation between the input and output, so from the data itself, the ability of the machine to learn the relation between input and output is nothing but the machine learning workflows. And in the recent advancements in late 2020s, we have something called deep learning, which emerges as a part of machine learning. It's actually a subset of machine learning, which does the primarily on even though you have a data on top of that, in machine learning you will be extracting some features to understand the relationship between the input and output. Whereas in the deep learning, which falls under the subset of machine learning, and it can able to represent not only the task but also the representation, how they are related, how the orientation of the data is there, and so on and so forth, can be automatically learned with the help of the deep learning. And when you think all these workflows, it was like till 2010 or before the hardware revolution was there, it was like sitting in a small toy kind of a problem where they are trying to do something to use mimic the human intelligence and so on and so forth. But once the hardware revolution which came into the picture of like a GPU, FPGAs, and other so on and so forth, which enable them to use on most complex problems. And as Yuvraj was mentioning, like the wireless industry has a lot of complex problems by which you can make use of these kind of technologies to solve those complex problems without additionally spending the efforts on things like that. And let us quickly get into the overview of the taxonomy of like machine learning and deep learning kind of workflow. As I said, like a machine learning stands at the top of the hierarchy, which is like introduced in the late 1950s and so on and so forth. And we have two subclasses in machine learning, just nothing but unsupervised learning. For instance, if you want to group something, or like if you want to cluster a cellular network or cellular traffic and things like that, which doesn't have any specific target, but you just want to group them with help of certain distance measures and so on and so forth, then it is falling under the category of unsupervised learning. So unsupervised learning, you can think of, it doesn't have any specific targets, but rather you want to group them into certain regions or certain segments where you can able to get the understanding about the data and patterns. Another subdivision of machine learning is nothing but supervised learning, where you have a specific targets. For example, you want to forecast something, you want to understand what will be your load in your network, or what will be the what are the type of classes, well, like modulations, whether it is what type of modulation, BPSK or QPSK kind of modulation. You have known a specific target. If that is the case, then it falls under the category of supervised learning. And based on the type of operation you perform, there are two categories. As I mentioned, right? Like a classification is nothing but a discrete regression problem. You have a certain levels in the targets, which can act as a classifier. And if you are regressing over a continuous variable, for example, you want to continuously predict what is the load on your traffic and so on and so forth, then it comes under the category of regression learning. And in the over a period of time, there is a one intelligent factor like actually like shallow neural network or a traditional ANN, which falls under the supervised learning, which what they did is that they extended its capability by extending the depth of the layers and adding some additional feature extraction capabilities, and which introduced the birth of like deep learning workflows. So it falls under supervised machine learning categories. So when you ask about what will be the fundamental difference between these two, as I mentioned earlier, you will be extracting some features, the features in the sense like you are projecting your data in some domains so that the relation between the input and the output can be formulated very easily with the help of the machine learning techniques. On the other hand, in the deep learning, you don't want to project the data, or rather than like you can use the raw data as it is. And the deep learning, what it tries to do is that it not alone understand the task, like a relation between input and output, also how the data is interacting, those kind of representation also it can able to understand. But in recent times, there are a lot of advancements is happening to for even the feature extraction workflow for deep learning as well. But this is a general idea, like when you think about machine learning, you have you will do a lot of pre-processing and make use of the algorithm that is available. Whereas in deep learning, you just need a data. On top of that, all those representation and the relation between input and output combination, it can able to achieve. When we dig deeper, like what type of data it operates on, like whether it's a machine learning or a deep learning, you can visualize that what type of data it can operate on. So to give an idea, it operates on all the data. What I mean by all the data is that it's like a 4 categories. I'm just showing it over here. It can operate on image data. It can operate on raw signals, which is nothing but a time series kind of information. It can even operate on numerics, like tabular information and things like that. And even it can operate on the text-based information. So how it can cater down to all this workflow is that end of the day, the machine will be doing in form of a matrix operation. The image, whether it is an image or whether it is a signals or whether it is a text, it is converted into a numerics or like a vectors and matrices and arrays where the algorithm will be running on top of it. When you relate this different data types to the wireless problem statement, you can see over here I have just put on spectrograms or scalograms for your signal waveforms that is captured in form of fingerprinting kind of applications. And here this is a raw signal that is transmitted or received or those kind of application, or it can be like even the log files you capture on the routers and so on and so forth. So these are some of the examples of the data that is related to wireless, but you can have your own data which represent either image signals or numeric or text, which results which resonates very well with the deep learning workflows. And when we further like classify whatever we send before is nothing but what are the different types of data that AI can apply on. When we break down a little further, and when we think about what type of application that you can try to solve with help of these machine learning and deep learning kind of workflow, there are n numbers. To give an idea, like these are some of the types of applications. So what I said is like initially, if you remember, like unsupervised learning is nothing but a clustering kind of environment. You can think about any kind of clustering application in wireless problem statement. Clustering is nothing but you want to group something and you want to understand how the group characteristics of a certain group is similar, or like distance in this certain group is similar, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, when it comes to supervised learning, it can fall under like object detection. For example, you transmit a radar signal or a wireless signal, and if you want to have a radar signature and you want to detect an object from the radar signatures, then it is falls under the category of object detection. Or it can be like modulation classification or a regression kind of a problem. So when we deep dive into those things, these are some of the examples I'm thought of just showing it to you. And we will be deep diving into a particular examples today is like a 5G channel estimation, how AI can be applicable for you. And there are many other things you just, it's kind of like a thought provoking for you, like where you can think of like using AI to solve the wireless kind of applications. It's not an new to the industry, and it's like a lot of problem statement. Whatever you decide or whatever you are currently doing with wireless kind of workflow, by default you can think of applying how AI can resonate with those workflows. So I have just given a brief set of applications. You can able to think of your own applications, and definitely we can help you there to apply the AI on top of your applications. And this is why we believe that like whatever you have just shown to you or like just talked about is that it's a wireless workflow with MATLAB, and whatever I just shown you like introduction about the complete AI workflow and all the subdivisions is heavily supported in MATLAB and the related toolboxes. So that's why like we believe that MathWorks enables or sits in the crossroad between the wireless industry and AI industry and merging those two technologies together. Now, Yuvraj, like, can you give us a quick overview about like the challenging problem which we discussed about the 5G problem statement?
Okay, thank you so much, Jayant, for giving an overview of that sort. So it was really helpful. Maybe let me take a quick pause here, and maybe from the attendees, if somebody can jump in and um, uh, say, like, if you have any wireless problems which you are trying to solve using artificial intelligence or something like that, or do you have any problem statement in mind? So what's your thoughts on various wireless problems which we discussed early, right? Any volunteer? I think your mic access is given, so you can feel free to unmute yourself and speak out here. Yes.
There is a hand raised. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can go ahead, Mr. Amber. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So you discussed about lots of help by using the artificial intelligence
Right.
in wireless. So I do have some use cases of LLR estimation. So in the MATLAB, do you have any test case? Can you show us, or can you guide us how I can LLR use the AI technique or use the supervised learning to optimize my LLR in channel?
Okay. So that's again a generic problem statement, right? So is there any other channel models or anything?
No, just take the AWGN channel model, and by using that, how we can optimize the LLR for codes such as NDP or
Okay, great. That's a good example use case. Maybe I think the demo which you're going to see today, right? So that will also very much correlate with that, and I think we'll be able to I'll be able to help you with the LR related steps after this meeting also to you, so that you will be able to kickstart. Yeah.
I am looking.
Yeah. And Amber sir, like there is a dedicated examples which talks about usage of neural networks on LLR estimation. We can also forward you to that, which also talks about the complete end-to-end workflow, and it's also comparisons and things like that. It's demonstrated in that example.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Yeah. And I hope the email IDs of everyone's will be available with the organizers, right? In case if you want to reach out to these questions.
And there is one more hand raised, Raj.
Oh yeah, please.
I believe
Yes,
Aruna.
Aruna. Yeah. Can you please unmute? Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead with your question, Aruna. So you'll be able to unmute yourself and speak out.
So in case if you're facing challenges, please feel free to post your question on chat. So we can also look into that.
Hello, sir. I have a question.
Right.
Sir, actually, I'm working on the 3D MIMO beamforming sort of thing. I just want to know that can we apply any machine learning to know the angle of arrival and departure for the antennas signals to the UE, different UE, how we can do that with the help of machine learning, and what sort of the data has to be analyzed for that?
Okay, that's again a very good problem statement, I would say. So basically, the angle of arrival and angle of departure calculation, can be done directly in MATLAB. So there are various, functions available as a part of the antenna as well as the phased array toolbox. So using which you will be able to, and using MATLAB, you'll also be able to, prepare your test data and then create the complete system. So if you want to apply a deep learning based solution, then again, the question is whether you want to streamline the operation, like whether you want to do an image based analysis or signal based analysis on the higher level. So once you have decided that you want to use an image based analysis for say, so you will be able to create the image of a beamformed system using the 5G toolbox and phased array system toolbox and so on. And after which you'll be able to create the images and train the network using various applications which is available as a part of the deep learning toolboxes in MATLAB. So the demo of which you would be able to, you will be seeing it today. So similar kind of, whatever you see, the same problem statement from yours can also be applied there. So it's very much correlating with the demo which you will see. So you'll be able to try to replicate what we are going to show you today in for the beamforming based system and then take it forward. Does that give you clarity, Mr. Ranjit?
Yes, sir. I understood. The only thing is that I'm planning of not of image but of the signal. So I think once you will be explaining, I will be trying to correlate with that as well.
Yes, sure. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Great. Any more questions or any more thoughts? So these were two nice application from Mr. Ranjit and Mr. Amber. So any other thoughts? Maybe I think Aarti, someone I saw raised hand, right?
Okay, so
I think we'll I saw that comment. So we'll stop maybe after some time after you see the demo so that you understand things better. Let's proceed further. So, as we discussed the basics of things, so MathWorks again acts as a crossroad, where you will be able to implement your artificial intelligence technique for solving your wireless problem statements. So, a couple of problem statement which we saw is the LLR estimation, and the other one is the 3D MIMO, right? Angle of arrival, angle of departure from Mr. Ranjit. So there are various other problem statements which you will be able to solve. Something like the scheduler optimizations, the RF optimizations, and your algorithmic optimization. So a lot of things can be done, and I think the demo would give you an overview of various steps which is involved in that. So for today's example, we will just take a 5G network where we have a G-Node B, which is actually the base station part of it, and that is basically going to transmit a signal to the user, which is nothing but the UE or our mobile phones. So whenever a signal is transmitted, we will have something called as reference signal, which goes along with your resource grid, and which is a known signal to the receiver. So we have a time frequency mapping, which we call it as a resource grid. In this terminology is basically introduced from LTE, and you have the concept of orthogonal OFDMA, and where we had various subcarriers, and we created time frequency map of the subcarriers, which formed a resource grid. And the resource grid is something which will carry the user data, the control data, and various other informations as well. And the reference signal is something which is being carried there. So there are various reference signals in the uplink and downlink direction. Maybe I don't want to go deeper into that, but yeah, for this example, we are using the DMRS. So once you have the signal which is getting transmitted from the G-Node B to the UE, you know that the signal will not have the same effect when, or you don't see the same signal what you transmitted in the receiver, right? So because of various imperfections like your buildings, trees, there are various reflections, refractions, multi-path the signal takes to reach the receiver. So on that note, you will have a lot of interferences in that, right? So the reference signals or the pilot symbols, along with the resource grid is equally getting distorted due to the channel effects. And this is what I was saying, the channel effects, and we have, you will be able to simulate the channel effects directly in MATLAB. You don't want to go to real world. So there are various channel models which are available, and there are even 5G based channel model which will help you to design a 5G based system when you're operating on millimeter wave, especially, right? So where you have narrowed beam, you need a 5G based channel model where you will be able to simulate a millimeter wave system. So that's again available as a part of 5G toolbox. And on the receiver side, you will see a distorted channel once you add the channel model to it. So the idea here is we linearly interpolate the received signal, the signal strength, of the pilot symbols is getting linear interpolated. And the bad part here is the estimated interpolation is not as close as the real distortion, right? The real distortion looks something like this. And the problem here is we need to make our estimation as close as possible to the real world distortion. And that's where the engineering solution is needed in estimating the channel. And let's see if there is any way in the deep learning technique to do that. Jayant, can you give us an overview of what can be done here actually?
Sure, thanks, Everaj. That was insightful. And after the interpolation, I could feel that there are two sets of images. One is like input and output. Post the interpolation, I could see that there is a actual signal that is being transmitted from your G-Node B, and we also have estimated signal that is you have generated, including the channel imperfections and other things. For me, like it appears like we have a multiple inputs, like one input and other outputs, and so on and so forth. And it's kind of an it's for me like an image to image kind of a regression problem, where we want to understand what is the relationship or what is the channel that is contributing to this change and giving you the output. So we know the input and we know the output, and we want to understand what is the exact relationship that is causing this change in the output. right? So this is like a interesting problem to work with CNN-based system. So for the people who are new to the CNN-based system, it is nothing but a convolution neural network. Since you are familiar with the convolution filtering and other operations, right? So they make use of those kind of convolution operations. And what they did is on top of the traditional ANN, they have appended this convolution workflows as a feature extractor, which operates very well on these kind of matrices. And they designed a network which is known as a convolution neural network. And you may be wondering that many of the deep learning networks is primarily intended to do the image to image or image to classification kind of problem or image to segmentation kind of problem statement. That's where like there are a lot of research that was already done, and even they are going, and you could see that we could able to make use of those best out of the research in these domains, and we can even transform our actual raw signal which is into an image based workflows, and you can make effectively use those already established networks, and you can be able to solve these challenging problems. So with the deep diving into the typical AI modeling trend, let us understand how the AI systems looks like. It's not alone like a machine learning or a deep learning, or even some of them will be familiar with statistical workflow for understanding the relation between the input and output data. But actually that is a small part in the actual complete AI system. So it's act as a one of the bucket like where you design your AI algorithms, you fine tune it, and you want to understand how it is behaving and so on and so forth. It is just a small bucket in the complete AI system. And once you have the AI modeling is ready, before taking into any kind of a deployment or any kind of test case, you will be validating your model for its correctness. So how to validate is quite interesting questions, and that can be solved very easily, but we will show you that as well. But idea here is that it's not recommended to take the AI modeling once the AI model is ready, directly put it on a base station or like a device which solves a problem. Before that, the simulation testing is a crucial role, and all the top wireless researchers or top wireless companies is primarily doing this kind of testing activity even for their wireless systems. On top of that, AI can also be brought into that, and they can understand and validate the things. And once you get a satisfied results, finally it will we will think about deploying on the end devices. It can be like as small as your mobile phones, or it can be like as large as a cloud-based solution, or like it can be like a desktop and other workflows. And this is an iterative steps. Like for example, find there is no direct rule of thumb to use which network or which architecture that is suitable to solve your problem. And there are a lot of configurations available in the network, which we call as a hyperparameters. And there is no straightforward rule to decide on which hyperparameter is suitable for your data upfront. So it's an iterative steps, and it requires a lot of intense efforts to model the entire AI systems. But before getting into any of these iterative steps and things like that, the fundamental and foremost thing is that like you need a data to operate on top of for the AI models and things like that. And Yuvraj, can you just walk us through like how we can prepare the data from MATLAB and 5G toolboxes so that that can be consumed inside AI workflow?
Great. Thanks, Jen. So again, as Jen said, data preparation, right, plays a very important role. And basically, you need valid data, and the more data you have, the more training sequences you will be able to run, and more optimized your network will become, right? So for that note, you'll be able to, get the data directly from the 5G toolbox in MATLAB. So you'll be able to generate any amount of data which you're looking for, and use that data to train the network. So it's not only 5G data, there are various data which are available. For example, random number is again another data, right? So likewise, there are various data like an LTE signal, or a plain modulated OFDM signal, or even a basic on-off signal. So anything can be a data. And currently, since we have focusing on the 5G based system, so we are generating the 5G data from the 5G toolbox. So Basically, I remember yesterday Kishore would have covered some part of the wireless waveform generator app, which is again a part of the MATLAB suite, and you will be able to generate any amount of data of various technologies like 5G, LTE, WLAN, Bluetooth, anything from the wireless waveform generator app. So since we have selected 5G here, you will find the 5G options. So even in 5G, you have flexibility to generate a sub-6 GHz or millimeter wave with various configurations, and just by click of a button, you will be able to generate the data. So you will be able to see the spectrum of it and the resource grid corresponding to that, and so you'll also be able to export the data to workspace with some variable name, or you'll also be able to export into a file or into your projects directly. So this is so easy to generate data. And coming to the demo for today, so this is basically a data which we generate for the channel estimation of the 5G signal. So this particular training data, we are trying to generate 256 training examples in this demo. And we have selected 612 subcarriers across 14 OFDM symbols. So this is basically a grid of 612 by 14 and for one antenna. So likewise, you will be able to scale up with some more number of subcarriers with a bigger resource grid. And at the end, you will also be able to split the resource grid into multiple arrays, which will be converted into an image. So basically, if you see here for the data generation, we start with the general basic 5G stuff. So we have the PDACH resource generation, where you will have the bits which is input, and you will get the symbols there, and you will get the PDACH grid there, and the output of which is also OFDM modulated, which will give you the symbols, modulated symbols. So you will run the simulation here for the complete set of the data which you want to generate, and you pass the data, the transmitted waveforms, data which is generated into a channel, and this can be again a 5G based channel, and in the receiver side, the channel, the waveform which is passed into the channel is received, and you do the receiver operation there. For example, demodulate that, do a channel estimation to identify the channel, and get the received grid out of it. So this received signal, would be your signal for the training purpose. So basically, so you will have training data. You are just populating that into the variable, and that becomes your training sequence. So you generate n number of data. In this case, we generate 256, but you will be able to generate n number of different kind of data directly, from the toolbox. Here we split the IQ samples into the real and imaginary part, and then use that as the training sequence data. Okay. So this is an overview of how the transmitted signal is, and how the signal which is passed into the receiver. So you have the transmitted signal which is the CSIRS, which is filled up in the resource grid, which helps in to identify the channel state, and we pass the signal into the channel, and in the receiver side you will find the receiver grid. The channel effects into the receiver grid again plays a role here. So this is what we did as a part of the data generation, and it's not only using script. You will also be able to capture live data. When you have a hardware, you'll be able to directly connect that to MATLAB and transmit the signal. Or if you have a hardware to receive signals, you will be able to directly get that signal into MATLAB using your hardware equipments. So there are various hardware components which is supported. So you'll be able to get a real world signal into the MATLAB environment, and do a processing on top of it. So this is to do with the real world signal, where you can connect and then get the signal, and then do the same kind of training operation there. That will be more close to the real world environment. Okay, Jain. So now having said that, we are done with the data generation. So what next?
Sure, that is interesting to know, Yuvraj. Like data generation or data requirement is one of the foremost challenge in any of the AI workflows, right? We look for several data. We know the active problem to solve, but in general practice we end up in having that I don't have a data, how can I solve this problem with AI? So AI, primarily it operates on data, and that's a very insightful, the data can be generated directly from the app-based workflow, including those robustness and generating. And once you have the data, then we have a lot of options in the AI world to solve the problem statements. So when you think about what are the lot of options, like it can be like a machine learning based workflow or deep learning based workflow, or even it can be directly a optimizer kind of workflow, and so on and so forth, everything which operates on top of this data. So as part of MathWorks, what we have is that we have a complete stack of support for machine learning, deep learning, and reinforcement learning, and all the application, whatever we are seeing over here. And we will be walking you through how you can build how we can build a deep learning kind of workflow from scratch for the data whatever you have generated, and how it is easy over the workflows. As I mentioned earlier, if you closely notice, there is a lot of research that is already done or even ongoing on the image-based workflows. So what I said is that you can make effectively use of those researchers and those trained architectures for any kind of workflow. So we also have a support by which you can able to bring the pre-trained network, which is intended to train on a different task, can be used as a feature extractor in your wireless statement and things like that. So even MathWorks support that workflow, and you can able to bring the pre-trained networks, whether it is a GooglyNet or AlexNet, which is intended for image kind of classification, but we can make use that as a feature extractor for the wireless statement and things like that. On top of that, there are a lot of reference example to get started with. So it's not like you will be starting everything from scratch. Rather than you can get started in middle of any of the workflows. You can directly have a 5G example, whatever we are discussing today, and you can plug in your own data, you can customize the architecture, you can add the improvements, and you can get the better results, and you can get the research outcome out of it. So this is a quick overview of different sets of supported algorithms inside MathWorks tools. And when we dive deeper and to understand when to consider which algorithm, that is an important and the most challenging question to answer that. So right, like there are a lot of algorithms, that is whatever we see in the previous slide, and many of them will be overwhelmed by those many techniques, and you will be thinking like which one will be I can get started with. So what we have seen till now from Yuvraj is that he helped us to generating the synthesized data from the 5G waveform toolbox. And once you have the data, this is a complete grid of options by which you can able to make choice of your algorithm. If you recall in the first couple of slides, what I said is that machine learning operates on extracted features. So whatever we saw is that Yuvraj has generated the IQ samples from the 5G waveform data. And if you want to get good results from the machine learning kind of workflow, you want to extract the features from those signals or those samples, and you want to go ahead and use the machine learning kind of workflow. So the extraction of features will be really helpful with the help of like domain engineers like you, like we being a wireless expert, you can throw some light on like what are the features, what are the extrapolation and things like that, how it can be done. Definitely, like you can help go around thinking the machine learning based workflow. On the other hand, if you have enough data with robustness and variance, and all those anomalies and all those impairment and everything, you have it in your data, and then you can able to use the deep learning directly, where you don't want to spend a lot of time in extracting the features to assist your algorithm. You can directly use the data and you can able to perform that. So there are like a lot of intermittent workflow. As I mentioned, there are a lot of research is going on, and even like there are already a lot of techniques that is coming up by which we extract some features to assist the deep learning kind of workflow, out of which today we'll be showing an example like how this time frequency map, like if you remember, we have generated IQ samples, then we converted into interpolation, which is nothing but a time frequency map, and how this can be used inside a deep learning workflow for channel estimation. We'll be walking through that kind of workflow. And it's a matter of question for you, like based on the data set you have and based on the domain knowledge for the data you want to extract the features, and based on the compute resource you have, you can make a choice of it. And to give an idea, all these techniques, deep learning techniques, are very compute intense. So a lot of operations will be operated on top of the hardwares and things like that. So definitely these are the implications, or these are the like a kind of things you can think about before deciding on which type of data you want to work on. Diving a little bit deeper, as I mentioned, we have a lot of workflows to support the deep learning or machine learning kind of workflow. Primarily, what's our thought in bringing this AI into the MathWorks tool is that we want to enable the engineers like you people to get started quickly with the AI workflow. We don't want you you don't want to write a lot of lines of programs and solving the techniques and things like that. Rather, you use your domain expertise and make use offload the AI workflow completely to the apps based workflow. That is the primary intent. We introduce the app-based workflow in solving the engineering problems. So to solve, we will be also looking today with a Deep Network Designer, which is an app in which you can able to create a network that is a deep learning network, and you can able to export and analyze the network architecture and things like that, and you can able to train and on the data whatever you have generated. On top of that, we also have one more app which is called as Experiment Manager. Not to overwhelmed with too many apps. The idea here is that this first app, whatever you see here, is nothing but the app that is used to create a deep network for you to get started with. And as I mentioned earlier, so each and every deep network or deep learning has a lot of configurations and parameter things that is associated with this, which is also called as hyperparameter. And in order to fine tune your hyperparameter, or in order to search which is the hyperparameter that will be suitable for your AI task, is quite cumbersome thing. And many of the people end up in writing 100 lines of codes to automate that process and things like that. Rather than you can offload that work of hyperparameter search. The idea is that configuration of your your deep learning network to an app called Experiment Manager. We'll also cover both of these apps in the next slide. Right. To give an idea, I'm opening the same slide or same code which Yuvraj has shown the generation of data. So once the data is ready, the splitting of training and the testing samples is ready. So what we will do is that we'll get into a workflow of app-based workflow for generating your deep network architectures. So I'm going into the app window, and in the app window, in the machine learning and deep learning bucket, you can find a lot of apps. I'm opening one such app, which is nothing but a deep network designer. So what this app allows you is that it allows you with importing pre-trained network. Not only that, you can create a network from scratch, which I'm going to show it to you. And to give an idea, you can see over here, there are a lot of commonly used layers, which is available in the layer library. So this is the most commonly used and most interestingly used deep learning libraries, which solves the purpose of creating a deep network architecture. So let me play that. Yeah. So as if you remember, I'm planning to use image-based kind of workflow. I'm just dragging and dropping those required layers. I can copy and paste it. No programming I'm doing, just to interactively I'm doing it very simply. And what I'm doing is that I'm connecting my output layers, which is my target and things like that. I'm just dragging and dropping those connections. And once my connection is ready, it's a tendency that we want to configure the specific input type. So if you remember, Yuvraj was mentioning you about he was generating like a 612x14 OFDM kind of signals, and we are specifying the input size, what it will be as 612x14 in a console, and final output also, if you remember, we can able to change the configurations of final output layers and things like that. And what we are doing is that main interesting fact is that not alone this app acts as creating your network, but also it helps you to understand the error and how the input is progressing from output. So general tendency is that we keep on adding these layers without understanding how it is progressing and things like that. To overcome those challenges, this signal analyzer app, it's definitely going to help you to solve the idea of how the input is traversing from towards the output, as well as what are the other learnables and other stuffs you can able to get it from here. And Yuvraj, a quick check, is the screen is frozen?
No, Jayant, it's going on, yeah.
Okay. For me, there is some delay. Okay.
I can see your deep learning network analysis.
Okay, sure. So once analysis is done, what we're doing is that whether the error is there or things like that, we analyzed, and all those stuff we analyze over here. Then now what we did is that if you have a image to classification kind of a task, you can able to feed the data over in the same app. You can see over here the data tab, right? You can specify the data in the same app, and also you can able to train the network in the same app itself without touching any MATLAB codes. So if you recall, we are going to perform image to image regression kind of a task. So what we are going to do is that we created a network over here and we are exporting back to MATLAB to feed in the data for the regression problem and understand how it is happening. So just in a click of a button, you can able to export the like layers and things like that. It automatically creates a MATLAB live script for you. And this is the layer configuration after doing the error analysis and everything is ready. And we are going to put that in the existing same coding environment. So this is the layer I just copied. I'm pasting it over here for our workflows. And there is multiple options for specifying hyperparameters or configurations. General idea is that specifying a specific hyperparameter and then training over that hyperparameter and then rechanging the hyperparameters or configuration, then once again rerunning this process. This is a way complex and a lot of iteration it would require. We will also show that as well to give an idea how this is going to be complex. So here what we are doing is that we are fixing the hyperparameters. So these are the configurations, like what is the learning rate, how many epochs or iteration I want to run over that, and what are the validation frequency and all those things. I'm just specifying it as fixed hyperparameters and I'm training a network. So whenever I want to change, I want to stop the simulation or the training, and then I want to re-edit the code and I want to do it. This is quite cumbersome process, right? Like fixing hyperparameters, rerunning and everything and so on and so forth. Rather, here is a quick example before getting into the experiment manager. So once you have the training data and input and output and layers, everything is ready. Just a single line of MATLAB code is required for you to kickstart the training. So there is no additional effort is required, just one line of MATLAB code, which all automatically recognize your input data, output data, and layer configurations, and it kickstarts the training. So it automatically recognizes even your hardware, whether it is you're running on a single CPU or GPU and so on and so forth. It trains based on that to give you a trained network. And as I shown earlier, it's kind of like how the layers are arranged. We can able to understand whether the layers are arranged and things like that. Even just a quick check on these layers. But this is quite cumbersome, right? Every time whenever we change the configurations, we want to rerun the simulations again and again and change the code and edit the things and all other things. Rather than there is a workflow which is called as experiment manager workflow. You know a specific range of variables you want to try it out. You just put those as an experiment on top of your layers and ask MATLAB to search for the hyperparameters. Again, this is an app-based workflow. I just open one more app called Experiment Manager, which is nothing but the same app, something similar to whatever you have done in the coding. You just want to put the same code, nothing else is required. And here you specify which are the hyperparameters you want to search. Rather than giving one by one, you just give a range of hyperparameters, whatever you want to try it out. Here as a given very simplistic example, I've just given an initial learning rate and epochs. You can have your own like a hyperparameters. On top of that, even multiple architectures can be added to that. So different architecture, you can run it at once based on the multi-core capability you have, and you can able to validate that. So what I'm doing, just as I specified my experiments, which are the hyperparameters I want to run. And if you remember, that is the same layer and everything, nothing else I changed. Only there is a small change here. Instead of specifying fixed hyperparameters, I parameterize that, saying that this is going to be fed in from this app. And I specify which I want to fine tune, how I want to optimize and things like that. And just I hit run, it automatically perform all those explorations, multiple explorations for you. You don't want to intervene anything in between. It automatically takes care of all these explorations. And you can see over here, like it's based on the multi-core capability you have, the multiple simulation is running in parallel. And in over a period of time, you could able to narrow down which will be a suitable hyperparameters for your data and network whichever you have chosen. Even this framework acts as a model handling or version control kind of a framework. Let us assume that you have a research team, or certain team is doing research on hyperparameters and certain team is working on architectures, like network architectures. What they can do is that the team can share the common project and they can able to rerun the simulation without running the previous simulations from where it is stopped and things like that. It's kind of a version control framework and you can able to use it. And after the best network is chosen over here, you can able to export the network for further analysis and deployments. So if you see here, I have not shown any coding and things like that. Everything is done in app-based workflow, which accelerates your research activity. So either creation of a deep network or either creating experiments on your deep network to fine tune which is a suitable hyperparameters, you can rely on the app-based workflow. And as I mentioned, like a deep learning is a compute intense kind of workflow. It requires a lot of hardware compute capabilities to run these simulations, right? So there is no specialized or additional coding is required. The toolbox and the MATLAB framework itself recognize the maximum hardware capability that is available in the environment. For example, you have a multi-core system or a dual core system, it automatically caters down to that. Even like you know that, right? All the deep learning training fundamentally now it's tend to be in the GPU, NVIDIA GPUs and things like that. Once you have the NVIDIA GPU with the recommended compute capability, the toolbox and framework automatically recognize which is the maximum hardware resource that is available with you, and you can able to accelerate on those hardwares without writing any additional specialized programming to run on those hardwares. So Yuvraj, like on a quick, we have seen that AI modeling workflows and accelerating the AI workflows. What's the step next before taking it to the deployment?
Yes. So once we do the modeling of the network and then tune it further, then the next part to it is to simulate the system, right? So simulation and testing plays a very important role. So you need a simulation framework or a test framework where we put all the variables which we have tuned and then see how the network performs. So for that we need a framework as such, and again MATLAB can be used as a platform for simulating the complete system, and then with the input and then the training of the network what we saw, and then the output of which we deploy it in the real world environment. So here again we use some capabilities of the 5G toolbox. So where we simulate the system as such. So we start with simulation of the transmitter where we have the PDSC as the data signal, the data channel along with the DMRS reference. So we also have some channel configurations and other channel impairments which we add on top of it. So here we start with simulation of the resource grid, creating the resource grid, insert DMRS symbols, perform modulation on top of it, and then send the modulated wave to the channel model. It can be any channel model, add noise to that. And again, on the receiver side, do the complete receiver operation. So this is like a step-by-step functional way of doing things, which is actually a part of the 5G toolbox functionalities, where you will be able to do all the 5G transmitter and the receiver operations directly inside MATLAB. So here we did the transmitter part, add channel to that, and then add the noise to that, which becomes your receiver. And again, in the receiver received waveform, you need to do estimation, right? The channel estimation, and the reverse operation of the transmitter, right? The demodulation part, where you get the received data. So once you are done with the transmitter and the receiver, which is like the testing part of it, you can compare and visualize the channel effects of the real world. I mean, you mean the 5G based channel estimation and the deep learning based estimation. So for 5G based estimation, you have the option for a perfect channel estimation or a practical channel estimation as per the 5G standard. And you can use the predict function, to predict the channel from the network which we have trained using the deep learning toolbox. So we have the estimation of both the real 5G based receiver operation and estimation, and the CNN network predicted estimation. So this is the resource grid, or that this diagram shows the linear interpolated signal and the output of the practical estimator, and how the this is the practical estimator and how the actual channel looks like, and the output of the neural network. So we see that the neural network is giving us better performance than the practical the estimator, which is actually a traditional way of doing things. So this is one of the example what we have simulated, and we found a promising result when we have the neural network, I mean the deep learning based channel estimation, which gave us a very good result when compared to the real world or the traditional approach which we have. So now once we are done with the simulation and testing part, now let's see how the deployment part can be done using MATLAB again.
Sure. Thanks, Yuvraj. And that's interesting. Like, I found that it's a challenging problem, and AI is helping. On top of that, it is also improving the accuracy in predictions than the existing legacy system. So, to all the researcher in the meeting, like one quick thing is that like it's not that AI can be replaced all the existing legacy system. And you have to find a suitable problem for AI, whether it is really challenging or whether it is AI can be applied to solve that, and whether the AI can improve the process. It's not like replacing the legacy systems. It's just plays a ad hoc kind of a role to solve the most critical part of it. So that's one thing like for you to keep in mind before getting into the journey of like AI and things like that. So and also like you were saying, that is a very interesting thing to know, like AI is performing better and also like solving the challenging problem. And once the simulation validation testing is done, finally the people will be asking like how to take it into the deployment phase. No one wants the simulation just sit on the programming environment or app-based environment. They want to deploy it on the end system, right? So when it comes for deployment, MATLAB provides you a wide variety of like options. Like for example, what I'm showing here is nothing but a MATLAB compiler workflow by which you can able to deploy the algorithms onto the end systems. So what I mean by that is you have a MATLAB algorithm, whether it is a AI algorithm or a CNN or a neural network or things like that. You can use a MATLAB compiler to generate an exe. So you can build a front end. Also, the back end code is nothing but a MATLAB code. You can able to build it very easily. On top of that, there are other options like when you want to host it as a web app, or if your team want to access those kind of application and they want to feed in their own data, and they can just it's not without installing any additional executable, they can go ahead and use the MATLAB web app. On the other hand, we also have a support for like deploying as a shared libraries. So many people want to, they have already existing system which is running on C, C++, Java or .NET and things like that. They want to add this MATLAB based workflows on top of their existing workflow without changing their workflows, right? So if that is the case, we provide you a compiler SDK workflow by which you can able to generate the shared library and you can attach together with those workflows. And we also have a direct solution by which you can able to deploy it on the cloud. So that's being a recent trend, like all the 5G based systems are like started using, or it's still in the research, like they want to use it on the cloud kind of environment. Definitely we can help you with that. On top of that, I believe since like many of them will be doing the research on deploying the hardware with in hardware, right? Like deploying the entire thing on the hardware which supports C programming or which supports like HDL or which supports CUDA programming, right? So we recently introduced a product called Deep Learning HDL Toolbox, which supports you to directly take the deep learning networks and deploy it on the FPGAs. So I know that coming from a VLSI background, I found that like many times people struggle to complete the HDL workflows or Verilog or VHDL kind of workflows to accomplish a task, like creating IPs and integrating the workflow for this kind of complex systems like AI workflows quite tedious. Rather than you can able to use this directly the solution by which you can able to generate an IP and you can integrate with your complete infrastructure that you have it on your system. Not only that, we also help you to generate a target agnostic code generation by which that it need not to be any CPU, GPU or FPGA kind of platform. It can be like a C code, a generic C code that can be supported for any platforms. You can able to generate that as well. So it's a complete full-fledged system which we support that when it comes to AI workflows. And we have even taken the same example, like the 5G channel estimation example. We have deployed on the Zinc ZCU102 board, and we have verified the results. And it found to be like both simulation and hardware results and everything found to be as similar as possible, even though like a minimal truncation and other stuff we have done. But the error and everything appears to be as close as the simulation and very, very minimalistic change. And we have actually have a like many of them ask that is the code is shareable and things like that. All the above codes or the above workflow, whatever we discussed, it's available as an example. We can share it with you. So what we have seen till far, what we have to give a high level summary, like whatever we have seen so far is that. So what we did, the traditional deep learning workflows, you know that like it relies on the data, but traditionally what we'll do is that we'll capture the data from a real system. In case like it will be like wireless signal, we'll be capturing. And then what we'll do is that manually label which is the input and output, or do some kind of target classification kind of thing. We will do the manual labeling. Then we'll train the AI thing. So in real scenario, I still wonder that we really have a real world 5G data that is available for you to capture it, label and train it. So that's where like we see what we did is that we simulated the data, which automatically comes with input and output combinations and all those abnormalities and everything. We simulated the complete data so that you don't want to wait for the data that is available to you. Rather than you can simulate and get started and get in par with the active research. And not alone that, in the same environment, whatever we did, it is standard specific data, as we were just mentioning, is a standard specific data, and we also added robustness and all the data. It's not like just a random data we are generating and we are no means it is related to 5G. It is a pure specific data, and we use the data to train the network. So what we did is we bypass this legacy or a traditional workflow where you have to wait till the data is available to you to get started with the AI workflow. Rather, what we did is we simulated the data in realistic to the actual scenarios and like specifications. We use the data and like we trained a deep learning algorithm, and we even tested how it is going to be working and what is the comparison with the legacy systems. So in a nutshell, Yuvraj, do you want to take to the final slides?
Yes, Jayant. Thank you so much. So, to summarize, like there are various challenges which you face when you want to design a wireless system for an AA network, and on that you'll find the data preparation, your modeling of the system, and then your simulation and testing. And again, you need various tools, application specific tools to solve your problems then and there, and then stitch it together and to form a complete system as such. So MATLAB again can act as a platform where you'll be able to do all those works together for your wireless communication system and AI together. So here you'll be able to synthesize the data, you'll be able to generate the waveforms, add channel models to it, do a link level simulation, and you'll also be able to connect to your hardware equipment and do an over the air kind of signal capture, which is basically becomes your real world signal, and that can be taken and that can be used for your training networks. And regarding the workflow which we saw today, we saw how we can synthesize the data in MATLAB and build and train your AI network with MATLAB with various applications, nice applications which you have inbuilt inside MATLAB. Collect the signal and then deploy the signal into the AI network into hardware. And also we saw how we can train and test the network as such. So on that note, this can act as a single platform where you'll be able to do all the work inside a MATLAB environment, starting from planning phase till training phase, and then the deployment phase also. So that's we have various other examples. So something related to some of the questions also, right? So we have various examples where we have applied artificial intelligence for solving wireless communication problems, and you have the links to those examples in the slide deck. And we also have a customer, NanoSemi, who has used the machine learning algorithms in MATLAB and improved his efficiency of the 5G system. So that is something which was actively done by a customer, and he found that development time has reduced by more than 50% when we have this kind of environment, and he was able to also iteratively verify various processes and then validate the system easily when we have the MATLAB as an environment. Coming to some of the other overviews, MathWorks again has a very deeply, it's rooted in the education. So you have more than 6,500 universities across the globe using MATLAB and Simulink, with more than 2,000 books, written based out of MATLAB and Simulink. And the industry also sees, the knowledge in MATLAB and Simulink is really adding value, which a student already learns in his curriculum itself. And there are various courses, on-ramp courses, which you will be able to easily do. There are free online courses as well as some of the paid courses, so which is part of the MATLAB Academy, and this is all online based. You'll be able to just log into your MathWorks account and finish off the course in your convenient time. would also like to point you to the online environment of MATLAB. So if you have a MathWorks account, so you'll be able to directly log into matlab.mathworks.com in your Chrome or in your browser and directly access MATLAB from your web browser. So what does it mean is you don't want to, download or install MATLAB in any of the other systems which you have. So if you have a Chrome, so you'll be able to continue the work from where you left from your office environment or from your research work. So you'll also be able to take out this file, so you put it in your MATLAB drive. So this is something similar to OneDrive or other cloud storage platforms, and access it while using the MATLAB online. So another option here is you'll also be able to use MATLAB in your mobile. So we have a nice application, MATLAB application in your mobile phones, which you can download and just sign in with your MathWorks account, and you will be able to run MATLAB in your mobile also. It's available for your iPhones or your Android design platforms as well. So this helps you to connect, not only to run MATLAB in your mobile, but it also allows you to, use your mobile phone sensors and camera and other things, which will act as a data generator. So using sensors or using camera, you can take data and use that data as an input to the algorithm which you run in your MATLAB. So there are various use cases to that. If you are having any project on this area, I think this would be really useful. And we also have MATLAB Central. Jayant, do you want to speak about the Kodi or something which you said?
Sure, Avraj. So we have a public repository which is called as MATLAB Central, by which it's a community collaborations and contributions platform where you could able to get the you can post your own codes, you can get the new codes that is being published. On top of that, there is an environment called MATLAB Kodi. So actually, it's kind of a coding practices. It's kind of a gaming kind of a challenge you will do. But rather, what you will do is that you'll understand what are the best practices in coding, MATLAB coding, and things like that. So that's very interesting thing to get started with. And top of that, there is one quick update is that that we have a platform called ThinkSpeak. So if you are new to IoT kind of environment and you want to get started with the IoT infrastructure and workflows, you can able to use the ThinkSpeak platform, and we have a lot of options for academic users. You can able to make best out of it. So those are the things I thought we thought of giving it to you today. And Yuvraj, you want to proceed further?
Oh, yes, thanks, Jayant. So there are various training courses, for AI. So if you're looking for any specific training for your team or for your faculties, so please feel free to reach out to MathWorks. There are various courses, online course also, the instructor-led course, which you will be able to directly use it, avail it from our training services website. So with that, we come to the end of the talk, and we'll open the floor for some questions if there is any. And yeah.
And meanwhile, I also posted the links for the examples which we have shown, like one is on 5G and other example for LR channel estimation in the chat. And I also have posted the link for ThinkSpeak for students and educators.
Great, thanks. I think this will be really useful for to take it forward. Yeah. And in the meantime, I mean, by the time we finish off the Q&A, there is also a feedback form in the chat. So we would like to, request you to have a look at the feedback form and give your valuable feedbacks. That would be really helpful for us. So we can take some questions if there are any. Anyone?
Sir,
Yeah, please.
in the chat box, it is given we need an use case to understand with more clarity.
What is that?
I believe that's a very old one. I believe before the example, We have shown. We started showing that. Yeah, I believe that is before the demo or before the use case. Viraj.
Okay, sir.
Great. Oh yeah, that was 2:30, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we understand that it's I mean, a big topic which we have covered, and we have the mail ID of Ramana, which is there in the meeting chat. So please feel free to reach out to us if there is any questions on any of this area which we have spoken, or if you want some inputs or support in your research in this area. So we'll be happy to help you in that. In your questions and help you out with some guidance on that area. So please feel free to reach out to us.
Sir,
Okay. Yeah.
can you tell me about how we can increase the spectral efficiency?
Okay, so this is a wide topic. So you are asking like increasing the spectral efficiency using AI or
In general, sir, not
in general?
using AI, either in MATLAB or using machine learning algorithms or
Okay.
whatever it may be, sir.
Okay. So basically, spectral efficiency is a very generic topic. So 5G as such, is designed to increase the usability of spectrum. That is nothing but increasing the efficiency of the system. So do you have any specific area which you have in your mind for increasing the spectral efficiency?
Sir, in full duplex OFDMA network, sir.
Okay, so basically what spectral efficiency mean is making the best use of the spectrum which we have. So for example, consider that you have a 20 megahertz bandwidth spectrum. So how efficiently we use the complete 20 megahertz bandwidth to serve all the users. Consider you have a G-Node B with maybe 50 users in it. So, okay, and 50 UEs connected to that. So the spectral efficiency in that means that that 20 megahertz band is used to solve, is used to transfer the data to all the 20 users, correct? So consider that you have a scheduling policy where you equally spread the 20 megahertz for all the users. So in that case, all the users might not be using may not be using the mobile phones at all the time, right? So in that case, if you equally give priority to all the users, then you'll be ending up wasting the resource for the users who are idle, rather than not giving the resource to the users who are heavily using it, correct? So that means that the spectrum is not efficiently used there. So we need to design the system in such a way that all the users are getting the the services which they are asking for, and we are using the spectrum to the fullest or in the most efficient way. So that is where your max scheduler comes into picture when it comes to scheduling the resource for the users, and that is where your efficient coding scheme and modulation scheme coming into picture, where you use the available channel very well, and that's where your multi-antenna system comes into picture, where you have a beamformed based system, and you use the spectrum efficiently by focusing the beams to a specific user. So all these things are like different research areas on the spectral efficiency front, and depending on your area, whether you are working on the physical layer or the higher layer, or even the antenna or the beamforming network, you will have a specific problem statement to solve in the spectral efficiency. I hope you understood about the basics of or the overview of the spectral efficiency, right? Hello, Sangeeta.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Does this give you an idea?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
Okay, great.
Sir,
Thanks.
in MATLAB coding, how we can differentiate cellular topology and ring topology, sir?
Okay, so these are again higher layer topology. So what do you mean by differentiate? So you want to simulate these topology, I mean these kind of networks?
Yes, sir, we need to simulate.
Okay. So there are various ways. Maybe I'll get back to you with some examples using which you will be able to simulate. Can you please
Sure, sir.
send a test mail to Ramana so that we'll help you with that.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Sir, one question posted, packet tracer used for topology in
What
the
is
chat
that
box.
question? Can you elaborate on the question, please?
Simply, they have given packet tracer used for topology. Okay, they
Is it
have
answered?
given it's answered.
Okay, I did not get that question. Maybe yeah. If you can explain more
They
on
are,
that, would be great.
they are, I
Mail or
asked them question
Answered for
further
your
answer.
question, ma'am.
Yes.
okay.
I asked
Yes.
their question now, sir. Further, they replied.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, is Balaji having a question?
Oh,
Yeah.
sir, this is Balaji from Wade, Chennai.
Okay.
So I'm not working wireless. I'm working in like a fiber optic photonic crystal.
Okay.
So I was looking one of my research scholar also finding like a performance parameter. Like a photonic crystal, we have like by changing the parameter, performance parameter, we're looking for output wavelength. Right.
Okay.
So we will try to relate the performance parameter with your wavelength. So that is a regression we are doing with some machine like a MATLAB only we are working.
Okay.
Our ultimate aim is to relate the output wavelength with the performance parameter. So
Great.
for that, what we are taking is rod size. We are taking rod size or hole size, like some artificial crystal which we made. Okay, so
Okay.
that we are taking as our own performance, and we are trying to take some other attribute also. But we don't have data sets, right? So we need to develop all data sets. Actually, we are having like a 50 data sets, like randomly taken from simulation, 50 to 100. So which algorithm will be best one, sir? Like I gone through some papers that done machine learning for like finding a rod with the wavelength, like some algorithm I'm not remember. So I need to know which is the best algorithm to find this sort of problem, sir. I'm working for some. I'm taking randomly regression. I'm using convolution network. I'm used and some algorithm I'm using, but I'm not able to like narrow down. Because more papers are not there in machine learning with like a photonic crystal to relate the wavelength
Right.
of the performance parameter.
So it looks like a classification problem for me, right? Jayant, correct me if I'm
Yep.
wrong.
Definitely. So answer your question, topology. Like the idea here is that, as I mentioned in the middle of the talk, also, right? There is no, as you also rightly pointed out, there is no straightforward approach to design on the algorithms. Right, so it depends upon the type of categorization you're doing, like whether you have like a RAS signal you want to operate on top of it, and or whether you want to converting that into scalograms or spectrograms and convert into image-based kind of workflows.
No, sir.
Yeah.
My work is I'm taking the performance parameter. Okay, the performance parameter in the sense like a radius of a rod or like a PBG, photonic band gap, or like some performance parameter related to that, your wavelength will be differ. So what we will do in simulation, we will doing the reverse engineering. Like we have some software, right? A Lumerical or RSoft or OptiSystem. We have many softwares. So in our campus, like a Lumerical will do, and we will try to change a different rod, and we will see the output wavelength.
Okay.
Like so that is like a reverse engineering. So what my question is, like if you come to know, like if you keep this rod, if you get this wavelength, so it will be good, right? So that's what we are looking for it. So we are trying to optimizing the parameter.
Got it. It's again like it's not like you can even it's kind of like directly an optimization problem to solve.
Yeah.
So the idea, yes. So the idea here is that like whatever we shown today, on top of that we have a dedicated optimization workflows where you can build all this kind of a design of experiments kind of a metrics, as you mentioned, right? You reverse engineer and collect the like metrics of informations. On top of that, which particular performance or which particular thing is impacting your output, those kind of things can be thought of like predictor importance workflow. So we call that as a predictor importance workflow in AI world, which actually what it does is how this change in a particular input or how which input is contributing to your maximum to your output. So those kind of analysis you can able to do it. So irrespective of whether it is a machine learning or deep learning, both workflows can have this yes.
Actually, I have gone through on paper like a gray wolf algorithm they used, sir. I have one of the research scholar they used from Iran. He used like a gray wolf optimizer algorithm to detect the wavelength by optimizing the rod.
Okay.
Like it is an algorithm called gray wolf algorithm.
Yeah, there are multiple things like even like simulated annealing, even the particle swarm optimization. Lot of algorithms that is being available based on the strategies and heuristic you design. You can able to make use of that. So whatever you are saying is coming in part of a global optimization workflow, where instead of formulating your problem, like you're asking the algorithm to formulate the problem and solve it for you, right? So that's where like in global optimization workflow, like we have those kind of simulated annealing, like particle swarm optimization, and even we have something called onion exploration algorithms, ant colony optimization, and so on and so forth. So those problems can be modeled in MATLAB with help of a global optimization toolbox. So there is a dedicated toolbox called as global optimization. You feed in the data and formulate the problem with help of this global techniques.
I can find in MATLAB, right, sir? I can find now.
Yes.
Another question, right? How many data set we need to have, sir, for optimizing properly? Actually, I am taking like 100 because I am doing simulation. I am taking my data set, right? It is not available publicly. So we need to create a data set. So I am creating like 100 for 100 itself, we're taking like a 1 month or 2 months. Okay, so it's enough for me. My question is that it's enough, sir, 100 or 200.
Yes, the idea here there would be like again you will be ending up in doing the empirical validation. There is no straightforward like a data set chunks. The idea here there would be like we want to generate the data to cover those edge cases or with enough variances. If you could able to simulate those edge cases, then definitely like the minimal data would be sufficient. But if you're simulating the data which is closely related to each other and that is not contributing to the problem formulation, then you might have to generate a lot of data in that case. And I will also recommend you to look into a workflow called as surrogate modeling for this kind of approach, which is getting quite popular.
Can you say again, sir?
It's a surrogate modeling. Yeah, it's quite getting popular in these kind of workflows where generally it's used to solve the simulation timing problem. You're saying, right? 100 simulation is taking 12 or a couple of months or 12 months. So those kind of things can be minimized with this kind of surrogate modeling approach. So what you will do is that instead of depending on the simulation simulators, you have a surrogate model to mimic the simulations and generate the complete spectrum of data. And you can able to use it inside the optimization workflows.
Yes, I look for it, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, one more question from the participant, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Challenges in using the deep learning app for millimeter wave.
So to give an idea, there is like if you are working with the regular deep learning architecture or deep learning workflow, there won't be any challenge as it is. If you want to fine tune or if you have a better control over individual architecture, we recommend you to go with the DL network workflow. So you can just Google it like saying DL network in MATLAB. What it does is you can even have a complete control of architectures, whatever architecture like complete control, backpropagation or training algorithm complete control you can have with the help of a DL network approach. So that by that way you can able to overcome all the challenges that you can come out. And the deep network app, whatever we have shown to you, it's kind of like getting started with, and also it can solve the challenging problems. If you want to do in detail research on top of that, definitely I would recommend you to look into the DL network approach with MATLAB. Does that answer your question, ma'am? I believe. I couldn't see the chat. Okay.
Okay. I also see a link from Prem, like this link is not working. So We don't know from where you got this link. Any idea, Prem, where you got this link?
It appears to be our Dev's link, Yuvraj. I don't know like how this link has been shared.
It is Dev's, but not sure where this link came from.
Yep.
Yeah, Premchand, I request you to reach out to Dev Singhdio. Created this link, and he will be able to share you. Or else you can reach out to me via mail on what exactly you are trying to access. I can help you with that.
Great. So maybe we'll wrap down. So once we have done with this, so thank you so much everyone for joining this talk. And in case if some of your questions are not getting answered, please feel free to drop us a mail. We'll help you out. And also request to fill out the feedback forms. Thank you so much for all your support, and have a good evening.
Sir, 1 second, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, thank you so much for both of you. And it's a very interesting session on hands-on session on AI with wireless communication. And you explained us the various algorithms in machine learning, deep learning, and you have been focusing on 2 apps which will be useful in executing our research work without going for a lengthy program. And then here explaining about the data, what are the various steps to be carried out in using AI for the wireless communication, the 4 steps very clearly. And how, if we are writing coding in C++ or any other platform, how it can be mingled with, used with MATLAB, and we can get the output in a shorter period of time. And as well as for the VLSI people also, you explained the workflow. So it is very helpful for us for carrying out our research work, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks a lot for providing us the opportunity. Thank you so much.